2026 Hyundai Ioniq 9 versus VinFast VF9, the three-row EV battle. These are two of the latest three-row electric SUVs to hit the market, and while both promise the space and range families need, one absolutely nails the assignment while the other falls short in surprising ways. Family-sized electric SUVs should be everywhere by now, considering their bigger footprints mean bigger batteries and more range. Plus, those compact electric powertrains should create more interior space. The industry has been slow to deliver though, which makes the arrival of the 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 9 and VinFast VF9 worth paying attention to. Both pack unique styling and serious amenities. Both carry premium price tags starting around $77,000, and the question becomes whether that money buys you a polished product or a work in progress. What they share is nearly identical sizing, with similar wheelbases, lengths, and widths, creating footprints that on paper should perform the same. The VF9 stands taller with its sleeker, almost wagon-like roofline, while the Ioniq 9 sits lower but uses every cubic inch more efficiently. Polarizing describes both designs, though the VF9 edges ahead on pure style with its flowing lines, and the Ioniq 9 counters with distinctive pixel lighting and a boat tail effect that connects it to Hyundai's broader design language. Even if the front end divides opinions, under the skin, the VF9 carries a larger battery at 123 kilowatt-hours compared to the Ioniq 9's 110, and that 13 kilowatt-hour advantage should translate to more range, except it doesn't. The VF9 Eco manages 518 kilometers, while the Plus version drops to 468. But every Ioniq 9 variant delivers at least 500 kilometers, with one test showing a projected range of over 670 at full charge. Efficiency makes all the difference, and the Ioniq 9 wins decisively. Performance numbers tell a similar story. VinFast offers only all-wheel drive across its two trim levels, putting down 402 horsepower and 457 pound-feet of torque, good for 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 6.7 seconds. The Ioniq 9 comes in 5 variants including rear-wheel drive options, and the numbers vary depending on which you choose. The performance all-wheel drive version cranks out 422 horsepower and 516 pound-feet, hitting 100 in just 5.2 seconds. But here's the thing. The standard all-wheel drive Ioniq 9 matches the VF9 exactly at 6.7 seconds, and that's actually the sweet spot because both companies got this right. 6.7 seconds to highway speed is plenty quick for a three-row family hauler, and chasing unnecessary speed just drains the battery faster. Driving these vehicles back-to-back reveals where they diverge. Sitting in the VF9 alone, it feels fine because the steering has good weight, not too light, and the dual motors deliver smooth power. Put it next to the Ioniq 9 though, and the refinement gap becomes obvious. Almost like comparing vehicles from different generations, despite both being 2026 models. The Ioniq 9 rides smoother, absorbs bumps better, and feels more composed, while the VF9's air suspension should give it an advantage but actually rides harsher and lets you feel the weight of that massive battery pack through corners and over rough pavement. Some Ioniq 9 testers reported a jostling sensation over rough roads, though this wasn't consistent across all test vehicles and warrants checking on a test drive. The turning radius issue is where things get genuinely frustrating. The VF9's turning circle is shockingly wide for a vehicle with dimensions so close to the Ioniq 9, wide enough that one reviewer took the Ioniq 9 through a drive-thru without issue, but needed a 2-point turn to navigate a car wash in the VF9. This affects daily parking, U-turns, and general maneuverability in ways that become annoying over time, and the dimensions suggest these vehicles should handle similarly, but they absolutely don't. Charging capabilities highlight different philosophies between the two companies. The Ioniq 9 accepts up to 350 kilowatts, the fastest available today, cutting the 10 to 80% charge time to about 25 minutes, while the VF9 maxes out at 160 kilowatts, stretching that charge to 40 minutes. Hyundai wins on paper, but VinFast might be playing the long game here because faster charging speeds accelerate battery degradation over the years, so the VF9's conservative approach could pay off in battery health 5 or 10 years down the road. Cold comfort when you're stuck at a charger for an extra 15 minutes though. The interior is where the Ioniq 9 pulls decisively ahead. Hyundai thought through every detail for family use, from rubberized compartments for small items to fast-charging USB ports for every passenger in the top trim to a sliding center console that moves farther than the one in the Ioniq 5. The third row sits lower than in the VF9, providing genuine headroom for adults, and accessing it couldn't be simpler thanks to power buttons that tilt the second row forward. Two separate climate units keep air cold throughout the cabin instead of just up front, and the camera systems deliver crisp, high frame rate images that make parking straightforward. The VF9 struggles with these basics in ways that add up quickly. The third row is cramped and suitable only for small children, the cargo area behind it barely exists, and getting to the third row requires reaching behind the second row seat to pull a strap, which becomes nearly impossible with a car seat installed. Only one USB-C port exists in the entire vehicle, hidden on the back of the center console, and the wireless chargers in the test vehicle didn't work at all. Camera quality looks dated with such a low frame rate that walls seem to suddenly appear when backing up, and the third row climate controls blast at random speeds every time you start the vehicle, blowing air that doesn't get very cold because there's only one climate unit up front. Technology integration reveals an even starker contrast between these vehicles. The Ioniq 9 keeps essential controls physical, with climate adjustments, drive modes, and region braking all having dedicated buttons or steering wheel paddles. The Regan system offers 4 levels plus a 1-pedal mode, all easily adjusted on the fly, which means if a passenger starts feeling motion sick from the region braking, you can dial it back in seconds without taking your eyes off the road. Everything in the VF9 gets buried in the touchscreen though. Adjusting your mirrors or steering wheel position means navigating to an icon, using controls on the left side of the steering wheel, then saving the profile, and region braking adjustments require tapping through menus while driving. Even experienced reviewers who test vehicles weekly found the VF9's control scheme confusing and clunky. But worse than that, the Regan system itself behaves inconsistently. Even in its strongest setting, the deceleration varies unpredictably, sometimes requiring mechanical brake input at stop signs and other times not, and the vehicle also wants to roll forward or backward when brought to a complete stop unless you immediately apply the brakes. That quirk feels genuinely unsafe and unlike any other modern EVs on the market. Software glitches compound the frustration in unexpected ways. One reviewer received obstruction warnings preventing the windows from closing when nothing was in the way, only to have them close fine on the second attempt, and these might be fixable with over-the-air updates, but they're symptomatic of a product that shipped before it was ready. Space utilization shows how experience matters in this segment. Despite nearly identical exterior dimensions, the Ioniq 9 simply makes smarter use of every cubic inch, from the lower-mounted third row to the practical storage solutions to the thoughtful placement of charging ports and cup holders. Everything adds up to a vehicle that feels designed by people who actually use three-row SUVs with families, while the VF9 has the right intentions but misses on execution in ways that matter daily. Expensive describes both vehicles without exception. The VF9 starts at $77,000 for the Eco and $81,000 for the Plus, with the test vehicle reaching $86,000 after options, and a fully loaded Ioniq 9 costs about $84,000, though more affordable versions expand the range downward. Neither represents a budget option, but at least the Ioniq 9 delivers a product that feels worth the premium. The VinFast VF9 isn't a bad electric vehicle when you look at what it gets right. Fundamentals like adequate range, reasonable performance, and striking design all check the boxes. But the problems live in the details, and those details pile up fast. The oversized turning radius, the inconsistent region braking, the poor camera quality, the cramped third row, the confusing controls, any one of these might be forgivable on its own. Together, though, they paint a picture of a company still learning how to execute at the level buyers expect when spending this kind of money. The Hyundai Ioniq 9 feels like the work of a company that's been refining electric vehicles for years by comparison. Smoother, more spacious, easier to use, and more family-friendly in every measurable way describes what Hyundai has delivered here. The faster charging might concern those worried about long-term battery health, but for most buyers, the convenience will outweigh the theoretical degradation years down the road. Shopping for a three-row electric SUV today means the Ioniq 9 makes the stronger case despite both vehicles carrying premium prices. It's the more polished product, the more practical choice, and the one that feels finished rather than rushed to market, while the VF9 shows promise and VinFast deserves credit for entering this space. That vehicle needs another generation of refinement to compete with what Hyundai has delivered here, though. Hit that like button and subscribe for more honest automotive insights based on actual data.